Hello, everyone. How you doing? You're very welcome to this week's rugby view with myself, Aidan Rafferty, and of course, as always, to talk about all things rugby, we have Adrian Leddy from Craig's Rugby Club. Hello, Adrian. How are you? Are you well?
I'm good, Aidan. Back on home soil after a great month away in France, and uh, I'm not too happy with the weather, but it's a big change from going around in a t-shirt for the last month in France. But it's nice to be home, nice to be back in the thick of things again, and catching up with everybody. So. Uh,
It'll take you a week or two to reacclimatise from the nice warm weather in France.
Sure, it might, Hayden, but standing along a touchline now with what's at the weekend, with the Connacht back, and we're back ourselves and a lot of underage, and you'll be climatised fairly quickly now over the weekend, I'd say.
That's it. That's it. And it's as I do always say, it's nice to go away, but it's nice to come home again and be back among our
Correct.
own as well, isn't it? So yeah, so I suppose
Oh yeah.
we'll kick off as we always do with mini rugby, and then what's going on at underage level in Craigs.
Yeah, mini rugby is going from strength to strength, and last weekend we we took on for the World Cup. We supported by IRFU. We took on a full blitz in Craigs. And over 300 youngsters took part in it. A great occasion, a great advertisement for mini rugby. We had people down from the IRFU, a lot of people down from Connacht Rugby, and it's great to have the type of facilities that we have in Craigs, and the coaches and the voluntary support that we have in Craigs as well. Because unless you have a team of people, when you bring around over 300 young mini rugby players to a particular club, you need to have plenty of supervision, you need to have plenty of coaches, you need to have referees. So it does take a lot to put on a fixture of that caliber within the club. So, and then to make sure that they're all looked after afterwards. So, again, compliments to everybody that was involved in to the coaches, to the supporters, to the referees. Well done, because it was a credit. The feedback that I have got from Connacht Rugby and from the IRFU, that they were so impressed by the way it was run in Greg's.
And of course, I think the center of that too is when you're catering for 300 kids, like you were saying there as well. The amount of pitches you have as well is key to it as well, because it's a lot of kids, so you need a good few pitches, and I suppose that's a testament to I suppose the people over the years that had the vision to say, like, from the days when you just had one pitches to where you are now, where you have four or five pitches. That's kind of it's great to see that was thanks to the vision of people throughout the years, and I suppose bringing the club to where it is now, and I mean to the level where, as we're always saying, a lot of underage players and things like that, getting into the various Connacht underage teams as well, which is great, and of course to be able to host the amount of blitzes that you do throughout the year, and I suppose colleges rugby and schools matches and things like that. It's great to see.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in that, Aidan. One is what you were saying is the foresight of the club to see the growth in rugby, and to see the need that we needed to have more accommodation to deal with the amount of youths and mini rugby that we were catering for, and we were renting various places. And again, all thanks goes the to Dunamon for the use of their grounds, while our own grounds was being developed as well, and over the years for their support. Uh, Again, that when I started off mini rugby, when I came to the club in '88, little did I think that it would grow into the numbers that we have today, and the way that rugby has really taken off. Like it's a huge task now to run a club when you have that type of numbers. Like when you were talking about dealing with a couple of hundred boys and girls at mini rugby level, then you have all age groups then from 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, up the whole way with boys and girls now as well. And that's, takes a lot of power, takes a lot of people within the club to run it. And actually, it takes a lot of money to run it. And all combined, the community, the efforts that's been put in there, both voluntary work, financial support, is absolutely fantastic. And it's something that a lot of clubs, when they come around to see the development within Craigs, they just wonder how this can happen in a small little village like Craigs. And that here we have big cities in Galway, in towns across the country, and they have near the facilities that we have in Craigs. But that's, we're not boasting about it, but we're proud of it, and we're proud that we have that type of facilities that can cater for the numbers like last Saturday, to be able to say to IRFU and to Connacht Rugby, we can cater for that. We can put on that type of a show for the World Cup. So it's nice to be able to do that and have it in Craigs.
And of course, the recognition that comes from that, like you said, from the Connacht Rugby and the IRFU, but also, I suppose there you mentioned there about like Galway, areas like Galway and all that, and it's a huge area. But people must remember as well that Craigs, even though it's a small village, the club does cater for a huge catchment area. I mean, there's Athleague, Roscommon, Fuerty, Ballygar. There's a huge, even beyond that, that it caters for people from Castlereagh, from a lot of parts of the county. It caters for, and that takes, as you just said there, it takes a lot of resources as well. So it's a credit to it's not just one or two. It's everyone chipping in, really, isn't it?
It is. I agree with you. It's a big catchment area, and it does mean that parents have to bring their boys and girls a distance to play in Craigs, but they're prepared to do that. They know that they're being well looked after. That the facilities are good, and they themselves can enjoy the facilities if they want to go for the walk or if they want to have a cup of coffee or whatever. While they're waiting on their son or daughter, they can do it. And unlike even though there's the big catchment area, it's still a low populated area comparison to say the surrounds of say the likes of Galway or any of the bigger cities or towns. We still have a very low population in that whole catchment area. So we're drawing from that and competing with other sports as well. So but it's good to be able to do that, and that the Craigs and the facilities are there for youngsters to develop. And it's a great foresight by the committee and the people involved that to have that. And we all will go away. Some of us are coming to closer to the indoor years, but it's nice to have a legacy left behind us that is there for our sons and daughters and youngsters coming on.
That's it. And I suppose just to have a look now, look back at the weekend, some of the results at underage level, and some of the fixtures to look forward to this weekend.
Yeah, we had a lot of fixtures at the weekend, both in boys and girls. Again, we won some, lost some, but some great performances and some great wins as well. And it's great to be able to compete at all age groups, as I said there, like from under 13s up to under 18s at the minute. And the latest in that, as I said in this program before, that we are now putting out a women's senior team as well. So shows the development that has come along through the under-8 structure into to be able to put out a senior women's team. And this will be the first time since we had the great women's team in the past that that we're able to do that. But the boys and girls are fantastic. A lot of them are playing both with the various schools as well during the week, normally on a Wednesday or Thursday, and the girls are playing with the convent. So they're getting plenty of rugby. They get at the moment they're getting midweek games and games on Saturdays and Sundays. So there's no doubt that there's plenty of sport and plenty of rugby there for them. So we have still the same type of program again this week with 14s, 16s, 18s all out again. So that's what we have to keep going, and there's huge enthusiasm, like with coaches involved with the teams. They're all there. They're all assigned now. It's up and running, and they're playing in the various Connacht leagues at the present time. And so are the schools. The likes of CBS are playing at under 14 level, and they have youths. They have juniors. They have seniors, and the same. The convent is putting out a team or two as well. So locally here in Roscommon, there's a lot going on, and in the community college, they're involved as well as Ballygar and Castlereagh schools and Strokestown. So they're all taking part in the various schools leagues as well.
That's it. That takes us on to the adult teams, and I think the first team were away to Dunmore. A good win.
A great win, yeah. We were, this was coming on losing to them 2 weeks previously in the Carly Cup. It was they warm up just to see what Dunmore was like, and we were delighted to take away a win last Saturday evening in Dunmore. Again, it was a very tight game. It's a game nearly at two halves always when you go to Dunmore. That's more on the slope that's on the pitch, and it's easier to play down the hill than up the hill. So again, we stayed within the game. They started off stronger than us. They got a few penalties, went into the lead, but Craigs came back, and Craigs were comfortable to win out in the end, 27-16. So it was a good kick-off for the league, the first game of the Connacht Leagues for Craigs to retain its trophy this year. So this weekend they're away again to a Mayo team, Ballinrobe, and Ballinrobe. This is their first league, second league game in the league. It's their first. They got promoted last season, so. Again, we already had a fixture with Ballinrobe in the Carly Cup at the very first game of the season, and Craigs won that. So we'll be hoping to repeat the performance again that we had last Saturday against Ballinrobe and come away with a victory.
That's it, and I suppose really going back to the Dunmore game, you were saying there in the Carly Cup, lost that game. But I suppose since then, it's kind of a two-pronged for the league game. I suppose in a sense it was kind of obviously you would have loved to have won both, but I suppose the important one that you wanted to really get would have been kind of the league, because that has more of a reflection long term throughout by the end of the season. So maybe that was kind of the more important one to win. But I suppose
100%, Aidan, and
yeah.
As I said, everyone mindset was on last Saturday. To the league game, to start off the league on a proper note by getting the win, and naturally enough that we wanted Dunmore would be our neighbours, and that we wanted to have another one over on them in relation to the league. They felt probably cocky enough having beaten us in the Carly Cup, and we knew that with all our regulars back for the league game, that we had a stronger team last Saturday evening than we had previously in the Carling Cup game.
That's it, because I suppose it is kind of two-pronged for the league game. Was that one, a lot of lads had returned, just like you said there, but also you would have learned would have been a lot of learnings from Dunmore, from playing Dunmore in the Carling Cup. So there was things that maybe went wrong in the Carling Cup that you learned from it and brought it into this game, and you were able to put that right in the league game.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, with strategy last Saturday evening was totally different. I was away myself. I didn't see the game live, but I did watch it on video, and it was it was a very close encounter in the first half. But then Craig's upped their performance in the second half, and as I said, they were playing the downhill, which left it a bit easier for them. And as you rightly said, we learned a lot from the first game, considering that they have probably half the team from outside Dunmore, like they would be from South Africa to parts of Europe and so on. So they had they have a strong team for junior rugby. So needless to say, with the type of caliber of players that they've brought in, they would be hoping to have defeated us last Saturday evening.
So I suppose it is a testament that, with all that talent that they had, you still came out with a victory. But that moves us on then to the AIL section of it. And I suppose the Galway-based teams, Carrick-on-Shannon and, Carrick Buccaneers and teams like that, and Sligo, that are based that are in the AIL. What's going on with those clubs?
Yeah, just before you leave that, I just mentioned our seconds team and development team that their fixture didn't go ahead last weekend, but they're away to Tuam this Saturday evening. So we wish them well, and our first game is on the Sunday against Ballinrobe. So they're two important fixtures for the club this particular weekend. But you say that the AIL. This was the second weekend out for the likes of Galway clubs and Sligo and Buccaneers. So again, mixed fortunes. Buccaneers went down again against the College in Cork. That's their second defeat in the start of the AIL. So Buccaneers will be hoping that they will get a win at home in their next game. And Sligo are going exceptionally well. They have beaten their second Northern team. Previously they'd beaten Reaney. Last weekend they beat Dungannon. So it's a good start for Sligo. Again, Galwegians had a win, and Corinthians, they were playing the top team that has been beating everybody by 70 and 80 points. They came very close, and they actually got a bonus point out of the game. So that in turn to play up in Belfast, to play in Estonians, was a good result for Corinthians. And unfortunately, Ballina lost out in the AIL, no more than Buccaneers. That was their second loss in the AIL. So they would be hoping for better fortunes as well in the game. So their other teams are going well, though. Buccaneers under 20s. Youth rugby is still going very strong in Buccaneers and mini rugby, and similar within Sligo. They have like a number of the teams would have played Craig's, a number of the youth teams in both Sligo and Buccaneers over last weekend. So there's tit for tat between all the clubs. So Carrick-on-Shannon, you mentioned there too. Carrick-on-Shannon kicked off their junior league with a great win away to Boys Club. Boys Club is OLBC in Galway, and they have amalgamated this season. They hadn't enough for players themselves, so they have amalgamated with Oughterard. So you have a joint team there, and that was a fantastic victory for Carrick-on-Shannon to start off for their first league game last weekend, and all credit to them, and good luck to them in the games for the rest of the season. Again, they're mini rugby. A couple of weeks ago, or the weekend before last, we had them in Greg's, and they continue to blossom as well as their youth team. So all is good at Carrick-on-Shannon as well.
That's it, and that takes us on to Connacht Rugby, and finally we'll be they're in competitive action now, and of course all the lads, Bundy Aki and Mac Hansen and a few others, they're back with Connacht now as well, and it's good to see them going back into competitive action again. All the preseason friendlies and all the preseason training is over, and now it's down to the brass tacks, isn't it?
It is, but in fairness, just to say, the couple of players you mentioned there that from Connacht that was playing with the Irish side, and they didn't let the side down. But Bundy and Mac and Finn Beelan, so they will probably be taking from the necessary break from rugby for a couple of weeks now. They'll be probably fed in over a period of time, depending on how their bodies are and in relation to injuries. Mike Hansen would have picked up a calf injury. He was struggling a bit in the game against New Zealand. That he was the doubtful before the game, and he had to go off in the second half when the calf injury, recurrence of his calf injury. So you will have that. But as you rightly says, it's down now. The URC is up and running this weekend, and Connacht's first game is in the sports ground at 3:00 against the Ospreys. So again, this is a game that Connacht would be hoping to win. They have a good record against Ospreys, and I've seen their past that Eric Elwood would have played the combined team that formed Ospreys for his last game in the sports ground. So it's good to see Elwood is still involved. He's coach for our development team within Connacht. So Eric is there. So there's since Andy Friend, the new coaching team there. We welcome back one of the heroes of on the coaching team from the time of winning the Pro 12. In John Muldoon was the captain at the time. He's back from being away in Bristol with Pat Lam. He has come back into the fold now with Connacht. He will be the forwards coach, and anything that John puts his hand to, he's a very committed type of an individual. He's another Paul O'Connell that we have in Connacht in John Muldoon, and I wish John and all the team the very best. And again, to Jack Carty taking on the captaincy again, it's great to see Jack there, local man, the captain of the team. So, and our own Dennis Buckley involved as well. So I'm looking forward to the game. Back into it, as I said at the outside of the program, plenty of rugby to get back into. No better place to get acclimatized to the Irish weather again is in the sports ground. So I'm looking forward to that this afternoon in the sports ground.
That's it. So it'll be a bit of a culture shock for you now, being back in the rain of Ireland and the whole lot. But I suppose for Connacht, this is. I know there'll be other games throughout the season, but really this is a key game in the fact that it's at home and it's their first game. It's their first game of the season in the URC. So the fact it's a home game, and also the need it's essential to kind of get the season off to a winning start as well. So they're two vital things, and that makes it hopefully easier for them. Or, well, look, there's no easy game in it. But to get a win on at the weekend.
Absolutely. You have to really win if you're going to go anywhere in the URC, you really have to be winning your home games, and because it's very hard when you travel away, with the home support and everything to get a win. So like the sports ground is very important. And now with the 4G pitch in the sports ground, it should suit the Connacht players. And and they know the conditions. They've played in all types of conditions in the sports ground, the majority of the players. So they know the strong points of where to put the ball and where to kick the ball. So no better man than Jack Carty to put it into the corners, and hopefully that the forwards will perform to give the back line the best of ball throughout.
That's it, and I suppose that takes us on to look. Unfortunately, not a great day at the office for Ireland on Sunday. But listen, on Saturday evening, I should say. But look, it's been a great World Cup. We really showed the other nations what we can do, especially against South Africa. I thought it would have been tougher, maybe again a bit tougher against Scotland, given how how they have been playing and they've improved. We thought might have been a tougher task, which would have been kind of better for us ahead of the All Blacks game. But I suppose with the All Blacks, this was the game. I think everyone was targeting. A lot of people would have said maybe the South Africa game would have been the real one that people want. But you have to beat the best, and the next best, I suppose, is New Zealand. But like, no one really was naive to believe think that this is going to be an easy game, because the All Blacks, the quarter final, that's where they're at. That's where they produce their big stuff. A lot of people say, "Oh, we bet them in November internationals. We bet them in this. We bet them in that. We bet them in Soldier Field in America in a summer tour and all that." But as we know, as we've seen in the last World Cup, and definitely as we've seen on Saturday, all that goes out the door, because in the quarter final, they were always going to give Ireland a lot of problems, and that's how it proved. I suppose the key for them was they had a good start, and maybe Ireland it maybe took Ireland a bit of time to kind of settle into the game. And like the All Blacks, they did settle in and they got the better start, and maybe it looked like they to a certain extent maybe that they'd cruised to it. But Ireland did well in the second half. Ireland were much better in the second half, and they were kind of unlucky in many ways. I suppose in some ways they made some mistakes, but in other ways now they did very well.
Well, I want to just say like that the World Cup is a great tournament, and it grabs all the various nations, all the rugby nations. Everybody was glued to it. Any person that's anyway interested in rugby or wanted to play the game or so on, like the World Cup is where it's at. And you rightly say that you can play all the other test matches outside the World Cup, but when you get into a World Cup, teams like New Zealand, teams like South Africa, France, other countries, they up their game big time. They're planning no more than Ireland was planning 4 years in advance for this occasion, for the World Cup. And it's the same now, that Ireland will just have to dust themselves off and go down and be ready for Australia in 4 years' time as well. But I just want to acknowledge of the great time and the great entertainment that this Irish squad has given us. And, like the likes of two people that has announced their retirement already, to Johnny Sexton, to Keith Earls. Players like that there have given enormous service to this country, and they deserve all the credit for bringing the type of enjoyment to us all. And it showed that way with the amount of travelling supporters that came to every game in all over France. And we're, for a small nation, and considering that we are probably about the third, fourth sport within the nation, that it was absolutely, you would be thrilled to be an Irishman at any of the particular games. When you seen the sea of green, 60,000 people at the Scottish game, and to see the numbers that was there again last Saturday, and meeting people from all over. I was in the company before the game by accident, ran into a couple of friends that I would have played Gaelic football against in Leitrim, now earning their crust in America. One from New York and two that's working in San Francisco. Went during the the downturn in the economy here to England when they weren't, or to America when they weren't able to make it here. And like there was people that had run into that had travelled long distances from all over Europe and different countries to get there. So that shows the passion that was there for the Irish team and the enjoyment that they gave us in all the games that they played. And if I had one critical thing about the whole World Cup organisation, it was the way that they did the draw, because the draw was wrong. It was the four best teams was there at the weekend in South Africa, New Zealand, France, and Ireland, and it was so sad to see two the better teams go out at this particular stage. Like the four them teams, they were actually semi-finals, and like I'd like people to really realise that they were beaten. You know that France and Ireland were beaten by two top teams on the night, and it was only one score in both games, and it just was small. It's just small margins. Had we grounded the ball that we drove over with about 5 minutes left on the clock, and like it was only a hand that saved the save. Like the Barretts, they did a lot of damage to us on the brothers, the three of them, on the night, and they're great players. There's so like the All Blacks. They're well known, one of the top sides in rugby, and it was easy to know with the information and that Joe Smith, having been the previous coach of Ireland, that he knew most of the Irish players. He knew where our weaknesses was, and he targeted us, very much so at the breakdown. And like the All Blacks were better on the breakdown than our Irish back row on last Saturday, and we have to give it to the All Blacks. They did shade it on the night, but at the same time, we could have won it. We came back, as you rightly says. We were slow out of the blocks. That they were up 13 points, but we did come back, and we were there or thereabouts for the rest of the game. And to said like the soft enough try that we did let in the second half, just like a missed tackle, one missed tackle led to the overlap, and that's how tight it can be. And but I witnessed, and it was great to be in the stadium. Two absolutely fabulous games of rugby. Like for any person that knows about rugby, they were the two probably games of the year, and particularly the South African and France game on the Sunday night. It was unreal. I don't know whether that being at a game that your own team isn't involved, that you're more relaxed and you can see the rugby. But I enjoyed it, and I felt everyone I was talking to, they felt it was the best game of rugby that they've ever been at. So it was a privilege to be there. It was a privilege to be at the World Cup stages. And there's two great weekends to still go, and the two semi-finals and the final. The final, I would bet nearly at this stage that the final will come down to the two teams down under between the All Blacks, New Zealand, and the Springboks, South Africa. So we were looking forward to at least a very good final, because I don't think that Argentina and England will live with either of the teams.
That's it. I suppose going back to the Ireland game as well, we knew this, as you said yourself earlier on there, it was always going to be decided on fine, minute margins, or as Paddy O'Shea years ago, the former Kerry manager once said, a grain of rice can tip it. And we say it even came down to, and I'm not casting blame on him, is, even if that had that penalty that Johnny Sexton missed, if that would have went over, it could have been a different story. Probably would that have drawn the game, or would have Ireland won? Or
no, it wouldn't, but it would have kept us closer to it. And maybe with all the pressure that we were creating towards the end of the game, it could have been like France, where we had over, I think, probably about 37 phases of rugby, that he would have the option of a drop goal then to win it. So that the scenario with the 4 points difference meant that he couldn't go for the drop goal that we needed to get the try to win it. So
Yeah.
that put on extra pressure. It was an important kick, but like, to ask of a 38-year-old to play a hard game like that, probably the legs were beginning to get a bit weaker, and after the amount of rugby that he has played, and been out for some time before the World Cup. It was a hard ask, but nobody could lay any blame on Johnny Sexton, because
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
he's been some servant to Irish rugby.
That's it. And look, we wish him all the best in his retirement. And you never know, we might see him in another role, maybe as a coach with Leinster or something else, or maybe he might pop his head in with Ireland, or even at youth level, I suppose, in the underage, the under 21s or the under 20s or something like that. But we'll leave that for the future anyway. So listen, thanks very much for taking the time out to.
With a rugby brain that he has. Like, he's thinking way ahead of most people. I would hope that at some stage to see him back in coaching. I'm not sure what he has in mind for the future. I'm sure he will take a long time out to assess what he wants to do in down the line.
That's it. And so thanks very much for taking the time out to do Rugby View with us, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thank you, Aidan.
No problem. Thanks very much. And that was myself and Adrian Leddy talking about all things rugby.